So first of all, I want to talk about a little of my background. And I graduated from Tec de Monterrey a year ago. I have a background in innovation and in robotics. And I've been affiliated with the Media Lab for 2.5 years now. And I'm currently a graduate research assistant at the City Science Group within the Media Lab. So for those of you who don't know what the Media Lab is, it's an interdisciplinary research lab within MIT that dwells within the intersection of technology, the arts, and society. So we have a focus not only on developing technologies, but we also like to look into how these technologies impact society once they're deployed into the real world. So just as a background check, these are some of the guiding principles that reflect the culture of the lab. And these principles, they show the mindset that we usually follow here in the lab for when developing projects. So this gives you a sense of the ideas that have been inspiring to me and that have sort of molded my thinking throughout the last years, right? So these are meant to be read as emergence over authority, compasses over maps, systems over objects, and my favorite one, learning over education. So I show this because this is the type of environment that has pushed me into thinking of why humanization of technology is important and will be relevant for us in the future, right? So talking about humanization of technology, what is humanization of technology? So here is where dictionaries always come in handy, right? And Oxford Dictionary defines humanize as a verb, which means to make something more pleasant or suitable for people. In other words, it's to make something more humane. And humane is a word that always speaks about compassion, benevolence, and these are all values and attributes that we want to keep within technology. So we want to embed these values and these characteristics into the developments that we have. So sometimes it's better to hold on, yeah. Sometimes it's better to define something by what it's not rather than what it is. And I love this clip from WALL-E because it shows a dystopian future. And it's a future that if we really think about it, sadly, it's not a future that it's too different from what we have today. We see hyper efficient mobility systems. We see automated entertainment, automated industry in beauty industry, mass marketing, mediated communication, augmented reality screens. We even see robots teaching children in the scene. And to me, these are all technologies that could be implemented in a way that society does not end up in this dystopian future. But sometimes this is the result of a society that implements these technologies with a focus on market, right? So sometimes they implement the technology just thinking about the market, just thinking about, in many ways, just thinking about the technology's sake. So we're only implementing technology because we can, not thinking about the broader picture, right? So I do believe that many current developments are on this line. And it is a path that I wouldn't like technology or developers to follow. So this is the concept and the ideas that I want to show you today are going against this dystopian vision and thinking about the ways in which we can use technology in a new way to not end up here, right? So a big focus to me, humanizing technology, comes down to this subtle but extremely important mindset shift, which is going from smart devices to smart communities. So this is developing technology and tools that allow us to have smarter communities, smarter citizens, smarter people, and doing so early on in the development process. So a good example of this is there's a big difference between using Google search, the Google search engine, to learning how to use it. It's easy, you just go, you query, and you get results. But there's a better step to this, which means that we learn how to use Google to learn. So in one end, we're seeing the user as a consumer of the technology. When we're just searching and consuming technology, we can see this with Facebook, with social media, with many technologies. But on the other, we're using the technology as a tool for empowerment. And that's where technology should be. That's what technology should be about. It should be about empowerment. It should be about smart communities. So once we understand the relevance of smart communities, we can see that technology it's not an end. It's not the final goal. It's rather a mean, right? So then, if technology is the mean, then what should be our end, or what should be our goals? What should we be pushing for? So I believe that we are already facing big challenges. We have climate, energy, economy, health right nowadays is quite relevant, food, water, equity, and peace. You can look into the SDGs, but I think these 8 words sum it up quite decently. And our focus should be on tackling these pressing challenges. And these challenges will most likely not be solved by a lonely inventor at MIT, at a university in Poland, at the university in Tokyo, but they will be solved by collective solutions, right? So it's not just one person creating solutions or one genius inside a lab. Rather, it's about many people being able to create part of these solutions that will be needed, right? So to do this, we need to create tools that inspire. So this is the technology, the humanized technology that I'm talking about, is about creating tools that inspire. And I believe that as developers of technology, our focus should not only be on specific one-size-fits-all solutions, rather on development tools. So it's migrating from solutions to tools. That's very important. And these tools should inspire moments of reflection, moments of creativity, moments of exploration, of curiosity, and of playfulness. And I think that within these moments of creativity, exploration, playfulness, lie the small parts of the solutions that will be needed to tackle the challenges that I've shown. So now I'm going to show you a little bit of the work that I've been doing here at the lab. And this is one of the first projects that I worked on here. And what we aimed to do was creating a robotic living environment. So this environment, you can change, everything moves by itself. You can fine tune its settings. You can modulate the transparency on the windows. You can adjust the bed, the desk, so that it's optimal for what you need, right? Working, resting, etc. But as far as the technology, yes, it's very cool for everything to move and for everything to be adjustable. But the real value of this project is that we aimed it to be a platform for researchers to study why we want everything to move, how we want everything to move. So it's asking questions of how far we should go with automation. When is automation good? How should automation take place? Should the human still be in control? Should we just be telling Alexa? Etc. So this is a platform that allows us to explore those types of questions, not only having the technology and saying, well, we have moving furniture, moving everything, let's just implement it. Rather, let's analyze what impacts this might have in society. So going out of the office, I've also worked in a project where we sensorized electric bicycles. This is a project I did with Panasonic. And the idea is to crowdsource city data through these mobile systems. In this case, it's bikes, but you could imagine this being other types of infrastructure in the city. And the data is processed. So we have data of the environment, so temperature, pressure, humidity. We have data about the bike, so torque, speed. We have GPS, and we have a camera. So it's a data that we have, but then this data is agnostically processed through a clustering algorithm. And the results are then later visualized in a way that they do not stand alone. So the model's outputs don't give us key insights about the city, as many would think, like, oh yes, let's implement machine learning and artificial intelligence and just follow it blindly. No, here we're saying the results, they are useful, but they become ever more powerful once they are discussed through the community engagement. So this is a way to create that machine to human workflow that can allow us to make better consensed decisions about the places that where we work, we live, and we play. And similarly, we're working with the country of Andorra. So moving from the roads to the mountains, we're working in Andorra in a pair of sensorized skis. So they have, again, they have accelerometer data, surface tension data, they have GPS. But here what we're asking is, usually AI models and sensors and all these technologies, they tend to displace ancestral knowledge, right? So here we're asking, how do we use these same technologies to enhance that knowledge instead of displace it? So a normal person that doesn't know much about the mountain might look at this data and these models and say, well, I can understand X, Y, and Z of these. But the person who is an expert, they can have way more insight into it. And this technology and these tools that we developed to visualize them help these experts enhance their knowledge and make their knowledge still more relevant than the knowledge that could be created by computers, right? So this means using technology to make the voices of experts that have come to be from generation to generation relevant once again. So you can see this becoming relevant not only in the mountain, but in health, in energy, in many other different sectors. So as a wrap up, humanizing technology puts people first. So it's people first technology, it's people first in the development process. And when I say people, it's not just about humans, it's about what we value, it's about the environment where we're in. So it's putting what we value first in the development process. That's crucial. And this, once we put people first in the development process, we allow for smart communities to come to be. And as I said, there's no lonely inventors that will be able to solve all of the challenges that we have in this world. So it turns out that once you enable these smart communities, you're much better suited for tackling the big challenges that we will be facing in the future. So in a sense, I truly believe that we can go from humanizing technology will give us people first technology, that will give us smart communities, and smart communities are our best shot for tackling the big challenges that we will be facing in the future. I truly believe that this is one of the best shots that we will be having at addressing these challenges. And I hope that you will join this mindset while developing your creations, your technologies, and while inspiring others. So thanks so much for the invitation. I hope you enjoyed the talk and that some of the concepts are useful for you guys when you're creating new projects. So all of this work, you can check it out in the website, email me if you want, and we can see, let's hope for collaborations and for critique of the work and everything. So thanks so much everyone for having me. And I guess we're going into the interview, right?
That's right. Thank you very much, Andres, for your inspiring speech. I wonder if I may challenge you a little bit on what you've said.
Yeah, go ahead. I love it.
You presented at the end a very nice picture, like about technology, communities, and at the end, challenge. So let me start with the technology. You presented a nice vision of democratizing the technology. However, we all know about the people scoring system in China. We know that computers are now able to develop their own software and even a language, as one of the experiments showed. So I wonder, should we maybe sometimes set up some boundaries on the development of particular technologies? What do you think about it?
Yeah, I think certain boundaries are always useful, and I think that's a great example of putting technology where it needs to be and the human where it needs to be. So, you know, just because we can do that doesn't mean we should be doing it. It doesn't mean we should be developing these tools, but some of these tools can, if well implemented, they can become a good symbiosis between humans and machines. And the key lies in finding the right sweet spot of that implementation. So it's about finding what machines are good at and what humans are good at. And usually a good guideline that I use is machines are really good at solving questions, but humans are good at asking questions. So if you keep that creativity side, that intriguing side in the human side, and use these machines to develop generative stuff and generative algorithms and all these things that are being used, GANs, etc. I think that's fine, but the implementation has to be well thought out, and that's where you sort of mediate that line between technology and humans.
Okay, your background is also in AI and robotics. Have you ever seen a technology that you were a little bit afraid of in the terms of where the development of this technology is going?
Yeah, but I see them all the time. So in robotics, in AI, and genetics, also they do have some technologies that I believe are scary sometimes. But I believe that they become scary if there is a lonely inventor developing them. Usually, that's where I am a true advocate of open source. And when you have a community developing this, you add the values of many people, you add the perspectives of many countries, cultures, etc. And I believe that this is the way to sort of make the development process more safe. So we're talking about technologies that might be scary, but open source can be a really good way to help us guide the development of these technologies towards a space where they're not as dangerous as we might at first. Right?
Yeah, so we should be afraid of lonely people sitting somewhere in the garages of or basements and working on some weird stuff, right?
Yeah, I mean, not all of them, obviously, but yeah, usually community development. Sure. Community development is crucial for technologies to take into account values that, I mean, I cannot, while developing, I cannot be aware of all of the values that people have, right? So the more people that are embedded into this process, the better it will be.
Yeah, so you emphasized this community importance, that it's really important to build a community around something. I wonder if we can do it nowadays and really have a good community around some technologies, or as you said, those smart communities. Because in different countries, you have really different problems. Here in Europe, from where we are transmitting this event, the communities are pretty well developed, more and more aware of sustainability or some challenges. However, you have some biggest pollutants in the world, like India, where people face totally different problems than we here in Europe. So how do we think we can make those communities more smart in the terms of technology and positive impact of technology on their lives?
So it's a long-term process. I'll give you an example. Here at the lab, we work with cities like Andorra. We work with cities with Tokyo, as you saw. But we're also starting to work with Latin America. So we're looking into Mexico, we're looking into Lima, which, as you say, they have completely different problems. And the key idea is that we don't develop technology here at the lab and say, oh, this is the perfect solution, now let's go put it in Mexico and just implant it and expect it to work. What we do is the reverse. We first start going to the communities in Mexico. We understand what they value. So for example, the first workshop that we ran in Guadalajara, the team here at MIT was thinking, yeah, they're going to be worried about traffic, about mobility patterns, about this stuff. And then we arrived and they're worried about security, they're worried about equity. So it's a complete different world. And that helps us understand first the community. Then once we understand, we start building community. So we go to well, before the pandemic, right now we're doing it on Zoom, but before the pandemic, we were in these communities, we talked to them, they got to know the researchers. So it starts to become a process of co-creation. And the technology is the last thing that happens. So after months of talking, of going back and forth of what the problems are, what is needed, what the community values, what should be implemented, that's when the technology starts to become relevant. But only after this process of community engagement has been done. So that's crucial for understanding specific values to each context. And that's why what I mean with developing smart communities, because we don't want us as MIT just to arrive and to leave them the technology and then leave and then what? No, we want this community to be able to develop itself technologically and in other aspects as well.
So what are, in your opinion, the best tools to let these people develop basically themselves and develop their communities? Because what the universities, as for example, even MIT, are doing, they are trying to somehow take those most talented people and offer them scholarships at their universities, for example. So how can you really help those people in less developed communities to really grow? What kind of tools can you offer them?
So usually we think of technology transference, right? And I think that that's not the way to go. Here, we like to aim more into knowledge transference, not technology transference. It's knowledge transference, not knowledge about what they should be looking for, maybe knowledge about what they should be valuing. So it's a back and forth of ideas. And this leaves the community, for example, in Guadalajara, this leaves the community thinking about things that they were not thinking before. So they're going a bit beyond what they were usually worried about, and this is what it's starting to improve their community. In the case of Lomas, it's a long process, but it's about knowledge, and it's about making that community sustainable a long time. It's not about just giving them this specific technology and expecting it to improve them.
Mm-hmm. Okay, and the third point that you mentioned were challenges. So what are the challenges that you are currently focusing on?
The 8 ones that I showed are some of the ones that we're focused in the lab. Specifically, I'm focused more on the tech side of how do you implement this machine learning, these robotics to address those challenges or to create those tools. But in general, the lab focuses a little on each of those 8 that I showed in the slide, which are energy, health, food, water, equity, peace, climate. Yeah.
Okay, today we have this question that we ask many speakers about. So what is the future that you would like to live in? And also making a connection with your speech, what is the biggest challenge that you would like to be seen solved in the future, the one that you would like to live in?
Well, for me, this is more personal. I believe that equity should be the first thing addressed. Equity in many senses, in racial equity, gender equity, socio-economic equity. I think that's the first step towards developing those smart communities. And I mean, I showed this dystopian future, just invert the dystopian future that I showed, and that's the world that I would like to be living in. And I think the challenge to get there, again, is the development of these tools and technologies that allow us to have the smart communities that will enable those, that utopian future, if you would like to say.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that sounds very good. I also would like to live in a world where everyone will be equal and we can always feel like we are on the same level with somebody else. That would be a very beautiful future. Andres,
Sure.
thank you very much. We are slowly running out of time, so thank you very much for your time today. It was a pleasure to talk with you. Wish you all the best with your research and your work.
Thanks so much, Carolina, and thanks so much to all the team at University.
Thank you. Now it's time